We're going to continue the chariot discussion with the Tumors up next. They've got one of the better mid-tier chariots with the skeleton chariot. The main upside of these guys is they've got a huge number of unit models compared to the typical 3 of most chariots, coming in at a whopping 12 unit models. Pretty decent charge bonus as well. Mass is also okay, but again, just that massive area that they take up, right? You can see how much physical space on the battlefield that this unit takes up in comparison to other chariot units allows them to impact a lot of infantry at the same time. Today, this replay is from, let me make sure I get this right, it's current year on this one, coming in hot with Kalita against Norsca. Looks like Throg on the other side. We've got the 2 chariots, some Necropolis Knights, no halberds on them, just the regular ones. Nehekara Warriors, Kepler Guard, we've got Skeleton Spears up front, and some Nehekara Horsemen out on the flanks. Very cost effective, going to be very good once again in this patch. I mean, they were never really bad, to be honest, but for Norsca, we've got a front line of Marauders here, currently getting impacted by said chariots, a Famir of Fire, with some Javelin Hunters to back them up. Throg, of course, got some Skin Wolves out on the flanks there, and a Manticore up in the air. Yeah, just the one Manticore, very tasteful. So let's get in and watch these chariots, as they've already impacted one unit, and this is a pretty solid micro here. The one unit, unfortunately, does get hit by Throg. We're going to get frostbitten, eat some javelins to the face, but this other unit gets right in there and fulfills the chariot objective of disrupting the front line and missiles in quick succession. They're able to get on and occupy even the unit that got severely wounded there by a couple of javelin volleys, and that 80 armor you might think would help them, but the anti-large damage of the javelin hunters is just too much. Take a look at the rest of the battlefield here. Kalita going to get in with those Necropolis Knights. Tomb Strike. We've got Jaff's Incantation of Cursed Blades upgraded for extra bonus versus large. It gives an extra plus 16 bonus versus large to those Necropolis Knights, and some Piercing Bolts of Burning in response. Wider view here. The Skin Wolves went out super wide, and they're having to now come back towards the battlefield. Kind of an overflank situation here. They are going to collapse one Nehekara Horseman very heavily, but the armor of the Necropolis Knights, 110 armor and poison, will definitely help them in engagements against the Skin Wolves. They should be able to trade fairly decently. Nice Burning Head here, though, from Norsca, is going to cut through those King Nikesh's Scorpion Legions. And Kalita also gets singled out by the Manticore and the Famir here. But 2v1, I'm not sure about this. I mean, the Famir does sunder armor, which is going to help the Manticore, and just in general, will be okay. The Famir also has armor-piercing attacks. He's able to actually land hits, but right now he's struggling to even get attack animations in. Kalita's armor has not been significantly debuffed throughout the course of this fight, and the Manticore is just getting pummeled as a result. He's now already into an enrage, but if we take a look at the rest of the battle, the chariots are already gone. Yeah, and they're already gone, which is kind of hilarious, I believe. Yeah, it looks like they're all already dead. So they are... that's one tough thing, especially in campaign, to use chariots, skeleton chariots and the like. They are pretty flimsy, even though they have 80 armor. Their HP per model is relatively low, and they can definitely get killed off pretty quick. So we'll take a look at their value after the fact. My guess is probably the one does not pay for itself. The other might, though, honestly. They're only 850, so not too expensive, and that is benefit of those mid-tier chariots. But the focus is now going to shift to Necropolis Knights, and of course this meta all about cavalry, monstrous infantry, monstrous cavalry, and the monstrous cavalry of the Tomb Kings seems pretty solid. I haven't really used Necropolis Knights much myself yet, but after watching this replay, I'll definitely have to give them a go once again. Get a really nice charge in here, and are able to hold back the Skin Wolves. Overall, their stats are okay, but they definitely have solid buffs from Tomb Kings. Regular Incantation of Cursed Blades, just for extra weapon strength, puts them all the way up to 84, which is pretty substantial. 45 attack, 48 defense with My Will Be Done. Nearby, going to see some more Piercing Bolts. Oh no, the Chariot's not dead. Okay, so the one Chariot is still here. We can check its value as it gets massacred by the Piercing Bolts. Okay, so it wasn't quite dead. But after that, it is pretty much going to be dead. But it did pay for itself. Okay, so the one Chariot ends up being cost effective. You can see the unit models that escaped there have been doing a good job ping-ponging around. I mean, rear charging so much so that I wasn't able to actually see their flag. But anyway, that's just fine. One Chariot still, I mean, tactically, just to get in and shut down those javelins very quickly was tactically very good. I mean, it helps swing the fight against the Skin Wolves, right? With the Necropolis Knights and their Skeleton Spears support. now against the Skin Wolves. Kalita also giving that My Will Be Done. Not really something people think about too much, similar to kind of like the Vigor Mortis effect from the corpse cards, but it is nice for undead units to get their stats evened out a little bit. They typically have just lower attack and defense overall. Another really nice burning head here, gonna hit these two skeleton infantry. The Kepler Guard weathering that storm okay, even though they are weak to fire damage. Didn't really get a nice square hit. I don't think it was overcast either, but anyway, Realm of Souls popping off once again. And it's going to be pretty close so far. Looks like the Summon du Shabti are going to be pulled up in this fight on this far side. Maybe try and trap Throg in. Necropolis Knights also move over to try and defeat this last unit of Skin Wolves. I say last unit. There's a couple more hanging around. This one in particular is going to now eat a charge from the Nehekara Horsemen. Some people are claiming that the changes to Knockdown didn't make it into this patch. And I asked a Creative Assembly dev about that, and they said that it, as far as they're aware, it did make it in the patch. But yeah, it remains to be seen. Certainly to me, I should say, it feels the same as in early access, which is to say that most cavalry and chariots generally feel better. Some, especially chariots, still don't feel great, but most cavalry feels pretty good right now, especially for its intended purpose. Cavalry characters, maybe not so much. They're pretty decent, but monstrous cavalry and monstrous infantry generally also has been very good as well. Here, another nice burning head is going to continue to thin out that skeleton infantry support, but Norsca suffering pretty badly in melee here. Throg is taking fairly significant damage. He's got a bit of healing cap space left, quite a bit actually, and the same goes for a lot of these Skin Wolves, but they've taken so much damage they're having a hard time holding their leadership together, so Kalita continuing to get that incantation of protection, and nice of its current year to keep his caster alive and also just continue spamming out those cheap spells. He's got probably quite a bit of value healing with the Restless Dead here. I mean, it's not a super impactful heal, but it's a nice little, 3.5% heal every time you cast. If you extrapolate that out to casting, lots and lots of cheap spells, you can definitely get a solid amount of percentage HP heals on your entire army. So, I mean, yeah, looking at these Kepler Guard, obviously they have their own innate healing, but they're getting towards their healing cap as well. So, both players have the ability to continue regenerating. Obviously, Realm of Souls will kind of start to get to the point where it's completely unattainable, right, for the Tomb Kings to get more heals from it, but they might get one or two more. And then, obviously, the Skin Wolves healing. All three of these Skin Wolves here have enough healing cap space. They could grind for some time, but cavalry collapse from the Tomb Kings is incoming. Here comes those Nehekara Horsemen. We're going to see another beautiful burning head lined up here. And I say beautiful, it actually cuts through kind of the side of this formation here. Doesn't get a nice square hit through the center of the Tomb Kings, and the Skin Wolves are starting to shatter, which is definitely a big problem. So, Throg now standing in the distance here, not really sure. His time on this battlefield is no doubt limited at this point. Let's fast forward through this endgame as the Tomb Kings now clean up Throg. A little bit of a spiteful fireball from that Famir. But it's not going to be enough, and that should be... yeah, there it is. So, very interesting. Definitely very interesting battle. I mean, the Necropolis Knights also die, but trade okay. One of them doesn't quite pay for themselves, but the other one definitely does. I forget, but they're, 1327. You can't really ask a lot more out of them. I mean, you can, but... that was pretty good, honestly. Nehekara Horsemen also, same thing. Like, one of them pays for themselves, one of them does not. Same thing for the Tomb King's Chariots. So, it's definitely a mixed bag, but did enough. Certainly the Kepler Guard grinding it out in the infantry fight. Nehekara Warriors also trading very cost-effectively into Marauder Infantry. Certainly more cost-effectively than I would have expected, perhaps. But maybe not into the low-tier Marauders, but with the presence of the champs on the battlefield, I would have thought maybe they would have got ground down by that. But yeah, the Burning Heads also managed to get a lot of value, but still was not a decisive enough factor to swing the battle completely. Sometimes it can be. The spears, though, look at that value on just regular old skeleton spears. The support of Kalita there in melee in those big blobs against those Skin Wolves really shine through. And I'm not the biggest fan of Manticores right now. I've kind of sold my stock in Manticore Co., if you will. It used to be very high on my list of monsters, but they were still okay for cheap terror, but you don't really need terror against Tomb Kings, and they don't really have the stats to stand against a lot of what the Tomb Kings can bring these days, so I'm not really sure I would advise bringing them here, but obviously Burning Head, Javelin's very good, Skin Wolf's also very good right now. But just an interesting one for sure. The sort of mix of Tomb King's mobility here definitely has me fascinated, and I'm going to probably try out similar builds like this in the future where you have sort of a mix of, sort of auxiliary all around, medium cavalry with these Nekara horsemen, the heavy sort of specialized anti-large, but can also be armor-piercing anti-infantry. Of course, without halberds, they're not explicitly anti-large, but you get what I'm saying. High mass can block up monsters and other high mass units like cavalry and such, and then good auxiliary sporting infantry, but then the skeleton chariots for anti-infantry and disruption, and especially here be able to punch through and get on those javelins. Very good stuff, honestly. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it as much as I did. If you do like this sort of content, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification. Every time I upload a new video, you'll be notified. Thanks again. We'll see you next time.